Welcome to class this week. I hope you are all doing good. All right, last week we talked about cell and its reaction to the environment, and there we talked about diffusion, we talked about osmosis, and of course, active transport. Now, this week we are going to talk about another topic entirely, and we are going to be talking about reproduction. Reproduction. Now, these are the course outline. We have definition of reproduction, talk about the types of reproduction, and we also talk about the differences in the types of reproduction that we have. Now, what is reproduction? Reproduction is just the ability of living organisms to give rise to new individuals of the same species. The ability of an organism to give rise to another species of the same species. Now, the purpose of reproduction is just to ensure the continuity of life, to ensure that life continues. The same organism can give rise to another organism that looks like it or a little bit different from it. Now, let's cover the types of reproduction. We have two major types of reproduction. The first one is the asexual reproduction, and the second one is the sexual reproduction. Now, let's talk about asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is just a type of reproduction in which new organisms are produced from a single parent without the production of gametes. Here, a single parent is needed in the production of new organism. There's no fusion of gametes. Remember when we talked about first week when we talked about growth, I said something about mitosis, and I told you that mitosis happens in asexual reproduction. And I explained to you that asexual reproduction requires just a parent organism. And a parent organism will give rise to two daughter cells or four daughter cells, as the case may be. So asexual reproduction requires just a parent organism that will give rise to another individual of the same species. And the offsprings are often called clones. Clones. The offsprings are often called the clones, and they are same in all respects to each other and to the parent organism. They are the same, they resemble the parent organism in all ways because they are from the parent organism. So they are called clones. They require mitosis in their cell division also. Now, let's talk about this sexual types of reproduction. Sexual reproduction involves the fusion of the male gametes, and the male gametes is called the spermatozoa, and the female gametes, which is called the ova or the egg cell. Is either you call it ova or you call it ovum or you call it egg cell. So sexual reproduction involves the fusion, the coming together of the male gametes and the female gametes to form a zygote. And the zygote later develops to a young offspring. So in sexual reproduction, the male gamete, which is haploid in nature, haploid, I told you when we were in SS1, that the gametes are always haploid in nature. Haploid in the sense that they have just one. And look at the screen, it's represented as N. So a spermatozoa is haploid in nature. The ova or the ovum or the egg is also haploid in nature. So when they come together, when they fuse together, haploid and haploid produce what? Produce a diploid zygote, produce a diploid. And that is why you will see it as N plus N to give rise to what? To 2N. Haploid plus haploid giving rise to a diploid zygote. And that's what you have on your screen. Haploid from the sperm cell and haploid from the ova or the ovum to give rise to a zygote that contains 2N, diploid in nature. Now, let us take a look at sexual reproduction in plants. Sexual reproduction does not only happen in animals, it also happens in plants. So in flowering plants, male and female reproductive structures can be found on the same individual plants. The organ of sexual reproduction is called the flower implant. The flower is the organ of reproduction, and the male gametes are found in pollen grains. The male gametes are found in pollen grains, and they are produced in the anthers of the flower. So, in other words, the anther produces the male gamete that is called the pollen grains. The anther produces the male gamete called the pollen grains, while the female gametes are called the ovules. We call it the ovules, and they are produced in the ovary of the flower. Don't forget, the anther produces the pollen grains, which are the male reproductive organ, while the ovary of the flower produces the ovules, which are the female gametes of the flower, of the plant rather. Now, let us take a look at the differences that exist between the asexual reproduction and the sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, one parent material is involved. A parent material give rise to new individuals, like two individual, four individual, just like in amoeba we have one amoeba giving rise to two daughter cells. Some they give rise to four daughter cells, like the hydra and the likes. So in asexual reproduction, one parent material is needed, but in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. Just a parent material cannot produce a zygote in sexual reproduction. And that is why two parents are involved. We need the spermatozoa, which is haploid in nature, and we also need the ova or the ovum or the egg cell, which is haploid in nature, to give rise to a diploid zygote. So two parents are involved in sexual. In asexual, just one parent is involved. Then another difference is that in asexual reproduction, offspring genetically, they are identical to their parents. They look exactly like the parents' material. In asexual reproduction, the daughter cells, they look exactly like their parents, but in sexual reproduction, offsprings are not genetically identical to their parents. They are not genetically identical, but in asexual they are identical. Then another one is that in asexual reproduction, mitosis is involved in cell division. The cell divide through mitosis. In asexual reproduction, the cell divide through mitosis, but in sexual reproduction, the cells divide through meiosis. Don't forget, I told you that we have two types of cell division. That was in first week. We have the mitosis and the meiosis. So in asexual reproduction, mitosis is involved in the breakdown of the cell, but in sexual reproduction, meiosis is involved in the cell breakdown. Now, another one is that no gametes and fertilization in asexual reproduction. There's no fusion of gametes. Since there's no sperm, there's no egg, so there's no fusion of gametes, there's no fertilization. But in sexual reproduction, there's fusion of gametes. Gamete is involved. There is a need for the two gametes to fuse in order for a zygote to be formed. So there's fusion of gametes and fertilization happens in sexual reproduction. Now, you have assignments here. You tell me what reproduction is. You tell me the types of reproduction and give a suitable example. Give suitable examples. Then three, you realize differences that you can see between a sexual reproduction and the sexual type of reproduction. Thank you for your time. Till we meet in our next class. Have a beautiful day. Bye.